The streak is over. Ohio State defeats Michigan. Feels like forever. I mean, that's a compliment, obviously, to Michigan. But Ohio State goes in to Ann Arbor in the Big House, wins 27-9. Really, once we got past the second quarter, halfway through the second quarter, there really was never a doubt. David Cohn, former Michigan quarterback, Blaine Crain, former Western State, Colorado wide receiver. David, I just want to start with you, man. Obviously, you have a lot of attachments to this game. You understand, what this game means. I know what I thought about it. I'll get to it in a second. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, almost to 200K. But I just want your thoughts just right after Raw. Give it to us straight.
Well, all good things must come to an end, and the better football team won this game, and the more physical football team won this game. And that's kind of been a hallmark of these last 4 years for Michigan. They were more physical, and now this is 25 straight years where the team that's won the rushing battle in this game has won the game. And you really saw that rushing attack for the Buckeyes take over in the second half. I think Michigan ran for -8 yards in the second half, -8 when they had almost 100 through the first quarter and a half. So that much is unacceptable. And look, let's just be honest. The young Buckeyes quarterback outplayed the young Wolverines quarterback. And, I think Bryce Underwood is just miles away developmentally from being able to beat a defense this good. Really underperformed last year's quarterback play, which is something I really did not think that I was going to be saying today, whether win or lose. But moving forward, to me, this is all about the Buckeyes. And quite frankly, I think everyone in the country should be excited to see this Ohio State team take on Indiana in the Big Ten championship game with both teams being undefeated. That's a matchup that we deserve to see.
Yeah, and Blaine, obviously we're sitting here watching this game together in the living room. I do want to make this point. Understand that the game early was kind of going in a way that favored Michigan to play small ball, try not to make that big mistake. But to be honest with you, man, like at some point you paid $12 million to this quarterback. We're in week 14. Like, this isn't week 1. This isn't week 3. You got to let this dude off the leash at some point. I think they babied Bryce Underwood in this game. And I think it's what ultimately cost.
I don't know, man. I heard the same thing against Oklahoma. He hasn't developed enough for them to let him off the leash. I mean, they can just they can call a streak every single play and let him try and be the difference maker. No one would want him to be the difference maker more than the coaching staff. Now, if you want to say he hasn't developed this season because of poor coaching and they haven't developed him, then that's something that we could talk about. I mean, I'm not inside the building, but in the 3 biggest games against the 3 biggest opponents, they just haven't been able to deliver from that position, and it looked a lot like it did last year, to be honest.
Well, and I get what you're saying, David, but again though, at this point in the year, because I watched Bryce Underwood do some things, and you're like, and look, I know the weather wasn't great, this, that, or the other, but I watched an Ohio State offense in the first half at least, and we'll talk about the pass rush for Michigan, let Julian Sand conduct a balanced offense. I mean, y'all run the ball on 2nd and 8 every time. Every single time. Y'all do the same. The sequencing is the same from Sharon Moore. We're out here calling plays during the game. It's all right. We may pitch backwards a little bit, and Bryce is getting to the check down so quick. But man, if it's 2nd and 7 or more, Sharon's running it. He's running it. I just at some point, and I know again he's young, but Julian's young, and I actually thought Michigan's offensive line from a protection standpoint wasn't terrible in pass pro. But against that defense, there's no way you're going to score more than 14 points if you have no threat vertically at all, even if you incomplete it. So, again, if I'm going to pay $12 million for something, by week 14, I got to let the car get out of the garage a little bit. But to your point, Ohio State was better. Ohio State was better. I was actually shocked that Michigan was able to run the ball as well as they did in the first half playing against this Ohio State defense, and then it went away, and then you're cooked.
Sure, and I will say this, on the Julian Sand note, as good as he is and as good as he's playing, I think he has a little bit better of a band right now than Bryce Underwood has in Carnell Tate, Jeremiah Smith, and Brandon Ennis. Hell, your running back's name's Bo Jackson, so really how bad could he be? Well, it turns out every single one of these games, the winner, it comes down to the line of scrimmage. And I thought Ohio State owned the line of scrimmage in this football game on the offensive line, on the defensive line. And look, it is somewhat of a struggle to look up in the third quarter and Bryce Underwood only having 13 attempts through the air. But I think Bryce is going to be fine. I think the real question is going to be, can Sharon Moore develop a quarterback? At the end of the day, you see what Bryce can do. Look, he's young, and I understand that. But he really didn't feel like he got better this season. Look, Ohio State's defense can do this to a lot of people. I mean, they gave up 9 points, and I saw graphics, the most points they've given up all year. You're going to see that. I wouldn't be surprised to see Ohio State win the national championship. But I think the underlying question is going to be, can Sharon Moore develop Bryce Underwood what he's supposed to be? Because you can look at this Michigan offense, as inept as they look today, they're extremely young, especially on the offensive line. So there's a lot of positivity, a lot of talent there, but can Sharon Moore handle it? That's the question.
Cone, what do you think?
My biggest issue really from the offensive side was Andrew Marsh having 0 targets. And I know that they bracketed him. They knew who the go-to guy was, but I watched us bracket some of their guys and they still have catches. I mean, I would have lined him up at running back at some point just to get him a touch and just see, because he's that much of a playmaker. So that's why I take issue with. I do enjoy seeing the fact that the more physical teams still won the football game. This idea that, one team can just come in with all-star players and finesse their way to a win. No, and you saw that with the snow on the ground. The Buckeyes really took control in the second half. And look, this Buckeyes defense has done this to everyone. I watched them put Arch Manning in a blender to start the year, and so it's not that big of a surprise to me. I do think Bryce Underwood is going to develop, and from the running standpoint, you're without so many key players. Max Bredesen not playing and Jordan Marshall getting banged up. I mean, he was averaging 8 yards a carry in the first half. And so, without those guys, it really is, it's disheartening to see that they couldn't put together a better performance. And honestly, if you can't get pressure on the opposing quarterback, he's going to complete passes. This has been a hallmark of the last 4 years, is they've always had great quarterbacks. They've always had great wide receivers. What did Michigan have, though? They had the ability to pressure the passer. Mm-hmm. I saw Michigan rush 5 at one point and didn't even get within 6 yards of Julian's hand. I don't think he got tackled today. And honestly, the play at the goal line with Jayshawn Barham, the fact that was he headbutting a referee?
Yeah, I don't know how
that
you don't
shocked
get
me.
For that.
I thought he should have been ejected. It's a miracle that he wasn't. And then even then, Michigan's defense being able to force a 4th down and get a false start, hold to a field goal. That's when I think a lot of Michigan fans were saying, wow, here we go again. We can actually play with this team and we're going to turn it into an ugly battle. But the recipe of let's make the game as ugly as we possibly can and just have a chance in the fourth quarter, time and time again, that's not a good enough recipe to me.
Yeah.
Cone, quickly, Jake Cone, what was your thoughts on the Jeremiah Smith touchdown?
Watching live, I didn't even catch the bobble. So when they went back in slow motion, and I'm looking around the room wait, technically, all that matters is what is it technically? Technically, that is a touchback.
Yeah.
But honestly, I wasn't that mad about it because, it's 4th and 5. You give up a double move, and that didn't end up making the difference in the game. It's a call that technically I think should have been a touchback. But look, Michigan had bigger problems than just that play going on.
Yeah, and you have people say, oh, well, it could have flipped the momentum of the game. Look, after what I saw in the second half, I don't think there was a way that Michigan was going to beat Ohio State today. And you know what's funny? During our preview, you can go back and look, and Blaine brought up a great point. It was true up until, this game and in the second half. It felt like Ohio State was trying to beat Michigan the way that Michigan beat other teams instead of Ohio State beating themselves. And I actually thought, in the first half, it was very Ohio State-like, even in the bad weather. They were throwing the ball around. They were mixing the play calling. They were letting their guys try and get out in space. Heck, the first play of the game, they took a shot deep to Carnell Tate. So it wasn't like Ohio State made that same mistake. And I think when you have a wide receiver as the play caller, that's a lot tougher to happen at the end of the day than it used to be. But then in the second half, you could see that Ohio State felt like, and we've all been a part of this on a sideline if you've ever been on one, our defense is so good that now that we're up, it gives the offense confidence to go out there and just hold on to the ball and execute. And that's what you felt like kind of happened. But I think the worst part of it, if you're a Michigan fan today, is that for the first, quarter and 3 minutes of that game, it was like, here we go again. The stars are aligning for Michigan. It's a cold weather, snow flurrying sideways type game. Ohio State's not dominating the line of scrimmage. Michigan's running the ball well. You're like, well, this looks exactly like what we've seen in the past. But I think it's a testament to Ohio State's mental fortitude and their leadership and their culture that they were able to respond from some adversity in a big game against a big rival. I think that says a lot going forward about Ohio State and the way this team's put together.
Yeah, I agree. And look, I think it's a bit of a wasted opportunity because Michigan got them at home. That favors you. There's snow on the ground. That favors you. You have an 18-year-old quarterback, but they also have a young quarterback. This was the time to press the issue. I've seen C.J. Stroud, a veteran quarterback, come in and lose these games. And look what happened on the second play of the game. He throws an interception. Wink gets him in a trap cover 2 there on the boundary, and they were running the ball well. To me, it's a wasted opportunity. And one more point on the play that should have been called a touchback. My bigger issue with that is not live. No referee in the world's calling that live. That's just an impossible play to catch. It's the fact that we have slow motion replay, but you don't actually have the fortitude to go in and make the call that you see that is right. But again, that's a really tough call to make because the Buckeyes executed a perfect play. To call slow go there on 4th and 5 and to execute it, that's how I knew that they weren't going to shy away from their young quarterback. They were going to let him go make plays.
What does this play mean for Julian Saying Heisman's hopes? I mean, 19 to 26, 233, 3 touchdowns. You had to pick early, but he bounced back from it. I think that shows a lot about him as an individual too.
I mean, yeah. I mean, obviously he's going to be up there. I mean, top 3, and as talented as Ohio State is, it's not like that it's going to change, right? And you go and play Indiana team that's really fundamental, but I still think with the athletes that you have with the offensive line plays like that, especially in the championship and throughout the playoffs, I don't see how Julian Saying realistically doesn't win it. I mean, what's it between right now? Him, Mendoza from Indiana,
Ty Simpson there, Jeremiah Love maybe.
I'd have to go look at the standings right now, but
Pavia.
I mean, yeah, I mean, it's there's plenty of guys that are going to be there, but I guarantee you Julian Saying is going to be in the mix.
I do want to say too, and I want your opinion on this as we kind of work our way to the end here. We got an instant reaction coming up from the Iron Bowl as well, and if something crazy happens somewhere else, I'm sure we're obviously going to talk about it. So make sure you hit that subscribe button. But just looking at this, what does this result mean for the college football playoff? I think it guarantees Ohio State a top 4 spot. I do believe that. I think now that Ohio State's won this game, they are guaranteed, regardless of what happens in the Big Ten championship game, I think they're guaranteed a top 4 spot and a bye. But you know who this is big for? You know who needed this? It was Texas. Now earlier BYU was losing to UCF. They've obviously taken the lead. I got to go look at it now. We're doing this in real time. But if you look at bubble teams, this has now eliminated another bubble team. We saw USC get eliminated last week. Michigan is eliminated this week. Is there any, who is this biggest for in your guys' opinion moving forward?
I know how badly the college football playoff would love to have the marquee brands like Texas and Michigan be in the college football playoff, but they're just not college football playoff teams this year. And Texas fans can complain about going to Columbus and playing an out-of-conference game and losing by 7, just like I've heard Michigan fans complain all year about going on the road and playing Texas's rival, Oklahoma, and losing on the road. Can't tell you how many texts I've got about, man, if we had just scheduled Eastern Michigan, what a year to do that. We could have gone 10-2. Forget that. You're not a college football playoff team. You went 9-3. I'm sorry, you're not going to get in, and I'll say the same thing to Texas. Yep. If you want to be in the college football playoff, you have those opportunities to win those games. Texas going and playing the Buckeyes week 1, just like Michigan going and playing Oklahoma week 2. That's what this sport is built off of, not programs running to play the weakest possible competition they can week in and week out.
You lost to a 3-9 Florida. I mean, that's pretty much the end of it for me when it comes to Texas. Look, I know you have great wins, and also you have great losses. You have 3. You can't lose to a 3. Go toe-to-toe with Mississippi State and Kentucky. I'd have to go back and look. I just don't think Texas is going to be a playoff team this year. And look, at the end of the day, Ohio State winning this game. Vanderbilt, you have everything in front of you, I think. It's going to be interesting to see the cases made from these teams the later the week gets.
Yeah. No, it's going to be fascinating. We're going to be obviously following all of it, talking about it. So make sure you're locked into Crain & Company. Hit that subscribe button. Got a long day, got a big day tomorrow. So make sure you keep your head down, put your ear on the ground, listen for those hoofbeats. We got you covered. Make sure you're locked in.